Hey, what's up everybody? It's Jack. Welcome back. And in this video, I am going to discuss my experience with my brand new controller, which is the Xbox One Elite controller, the reason why I chose it over a SCUF controller, and also the learning curve behind it. Because there seems to be a trend among players, especially in Call of Duty or any other first-person shooter, that if you pick up this controller automatically, you are going to be a gaming god, basically, and it's going to boost you up to the next level. I am here to tell you, first and foremost, through personal experience, that is definitely not the case. This sucker definitely has a learning curve to it, very similar to the Control Freaks, actually, but it's not just about putting it in your hands, getting a feel for it, and getting used to it and making the adjustment. No. There's a little bit more to that. You have to actually customize it to your liking. Now, everybody holds a controller with both their hands, right? Well, the thing is, we all hold a controller a little bit differently. It's comparing it to basically the way we walk, okay? Everybody walks the same way, one foot in front of the other, and we go through the motions, right? But if you look at people's body language and the way they walk, even though we both walk the same way, at the same time, we don't exactly walk the same way because we're all built differently yet the same, if you know what I mean. Some people like to hug their controllers like a certain way, and some people like to, for instance, let's say the way you pull the trigger or squeeze the trigger on your controllers, right? Some people like to use the tip of their finger, and some people like to use the deeper part of their finger and the way they grip it. Some people's middle fingers hug the back of the controller. Some people just hug the edges of the controller from where their middle fingers are, and they don't. You see what I'm trying to get at, is that everybody, even though we all hold the controller in a similar fashion, we don't hold the controller the exact same way. And with the way the Elite controller actually taught me is that, surprisingly so, because of the way it is so customizable, I actually found that I was surprised that I actually prefer the jump button, the A button, to be on my right side as opposed to the left. If I was going to get a SCUF, I was going to go with the left because, for the most part, everybody else goes with the left. And I'm glad I actually didn't do that, simply because of the fact that I was going to have to pay more money to customize it, which is, okay, it is what it is, but at the same time, where those paddles are placed is not actually ideal for the way I personally hold the controller. And the thing is, with the Elite controller, you can choose to have either the longer paddles or the shorter paddles. You can place them up higher, you can place them up lower, and depending on the way you personally hold the controller. And you can literally customize that physically as well as through the app in so many different ways and combinations. Everything from the sticks to the bumpers to the triggers, everything. You can customize it to literally the way you hold the controller and what is ideal for you personally, which is very important because even though we're very similar, we're also very different. So that is the main reason why one of the reasons why why I'm actually glad I chose the Elite controller over the SCUF. And the thing is also is the fact that with the SCUF controller, I have also talked to a person on my friends list on Xbox Live that actually has both, and which one he prefers, and he actually told me legitimately that he prefers the Elite controller. And I've watched a lot of YouTube videos of people that have tried both, and every single YouTube video that I personally saw, which was like, I don't know, 4 maybe 5 of them, they all preferred the Elite controller over the SCUF. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are sponsored by SCUF. I'm definitely not one of them, and some of the YouTube videos some of the YouTube videos that you guys may see is a lot of people are going to be sponsored by SCUF, and because it's going to be harder for them to say, hey, I prefer the Elite controller over the SCUF, and how you guys know how that goes. But the thing is, though, all in all, though, the fact that it's so customizable, and that this controller taught me a lot about how my hands work. Like, for instance, I was shocked to learn that I prefer the jump button to be on my right side with my middle finger instead of my ring finger, as opposed to my left side with my ring finger. And when I first started this out, I was actually surprised to learn that, because for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's because my right fingers have a little bit more nerves than my left, but my left fingers are not nearly as responsive as my right, and it was a lot more comfortable for me to jump using the right paddle on the upper side with my middle finger as opposed to my left ring finger, which was what I was going to use for the SCUF. And the way the SCUF paddles work is that they're a little bit more towards the middle, and it was actually going to have to force me to hold the controller a slightly different way in order to use the paddles from what I've seen with the SCUF. But with the Xbox Elite controller was, at first when I held this thing, I felt kind of uncomfortable for the way the paddles were placed and what I was using first. But then with some time, some trial and error, and some switching things around and placing the paddles where I want to place them. And by the way, I only use one paddle. I actually don't use multiple paddles. I just use one. I use a shorter paddle on my upper right, so that way I can use my middle finger to jump. I've also adjusted the trigger so that way I can get the shortest amount of distance to pull the trigger, so I kill people really fast. And as you saw in the very beginning of this video, the message that was sent to me literally today before I made this video, sometime before I made this video or recorded this gameplay of somebody, and they thought I had a modded controller. It wasn't a modded controller, it was just an Xbox One Elite controller. So basically, long story short, this thing has a learning curve to it. It took me a few days to get used to the sticks because they're a lot like the 360 controller sticks. And yes, I do use my control freaks on this one as well. I just moved them from my Xbox One controller over to this one. And the other thing was the paddles, and immediately I felt uncomfortable actually. So it took some getting used to. I had to change the setup a little bit. I had to go into the app and change which buttons I prefer to be on which paddle and so on and so forth. I am playing on tactical again, and I am able to slide in and out very easily at ease, and I don't have a problem with sliding in the game anymore. Stick and move is no longer necessary because I'm using this kind of controller. And the thing is also is the fact that again, at first you guys are going to for me personally, it felt uncomfortable for like the first day or so, and after a few hours it started getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And one other thing that I did was I forced myself to play Advanced Warfare again, which was very difficult. I thought it was going to be easy, but it was very difficult. But along doing that, and the more time I spent with it, I got better and I got better after a few play sessions. And then I went into Black Ops 3, and the next thing you know, I'm doing things like this. And when I use an SMG, I am all over the place. I am like a wild man, and I'm absolutely loving it. Oh, and by the way, in this gameplay, this is not only the first gameplay that you guys are going to see where I'm using the Xbox One Elite controller, but I finally bought a monitor. For the longest time, I never played with a monitor. I was playing on an HD TV. And it's a 1 millisecond response time, and the game feels like it's got no lag, basically. My hits are connecting, people are dropping fast, along with this controller as well. And yeah, it's basically, long story short, if you guys are willing to go through the learning curve, this controller is going to work wonders for you. It's like somebody giving you a tool. If you don't go through the learning curve and learning how to use that tool correctly, you are not going to get better with it. So if you guys are willing to go through a learning curve, if you take the game a little bit more seriously enough to get one of these controllers, and if you're willing to go through a learning curve and set it up the way you prefer, with the way you hold the sticks and everything like that, it's going to work out well for you, and you're going to find yourself having a great time with this controller and with the games you play with it. So I went a little bit over overtime on this commentary, guys. I hope you got everything you wanted out of this video. Let me know what your experience is if you happen to pick one of these up. If you guys like the video, let me know, and if you don't, let me know what I can do to make my videos better, and I'll catch you very shortly on the next video. See ya.